All right, so we are here with one of my favorite role models in real estate, and that is the one and only Harma Hartouni. And Harma has had a lot of recent press. If you're on Instagram and you follow Harma, you've seen all the TV interviews that he's been doing. He just released an amazing new book. It's called Getting Back Up. One of the most inspiring stories that I've ever read. And my heart was moved by Harma's book. Harma has been a dear friend for many years. I knew Harma when I was the CEO, and maybe even before that, when I was the president of Keller Williams International. And Harma was this young, I don't know, he was in his early 20s, I want to say at the time. And he was a rising star who showed up big time on the leadership scene as the youngest superstar team leader in Keller Williams. He has an amazing story. He is completely 100% self-made. He is a role model for everybody in terms of how he has built his career, but also how he has built a storybook, Amazing Life. He has 2 daughters, beautiful daughters. He has a son, and he and his partner, Assad, reside in California. And I think last time I heard, he was in the process of remodeling a home in Beverly Hills. Do I have that right, Harma?
Yeah, Hollywood Hills, but yes, very
Hollywood
close.
Hills, okay. And I am just like, I'm honored that you would do a podcast with Mark Willis Leadership with me. And I cannot wait for those that don't know you to learn from you, because you're a role model for anybody who wants to be in control of their own destiny and build what I would call a legendary, not noteworthy, and I don't use this word too often, a legendary real estate career and a legendary life. And so, Harma, I'm going to give our listeners some quick details. You've got to correct me if I'm wrong. I know that Harma's real estate office in LA closed $1.2 billion in sales last year. I know that through June of this year, they will have closed. They're on track to easily close $1 billion in sales. I know that he ended the year with 325 associates. He's already at 405 associates in his office in LA. And I know that in addition to that, that Harma runs a team that did over $72 million in sales last year and generated well over $1.6 million in gross commission income with only 5 salespeople. Not a huge staff, 5 salespeople, 3 admin staff, and that's it. So, Harma, I'd like to start. In every one of these podcasts, I've approached the same way. Mm-hmm. Tell us about how you got into real estate, when you got into real estate, at what age, and what your first year turned out as. Okay?
Thank you.
So, welcome, by the way.
Okay. Mark, thank you. This was awesome. I can't believe you're doing this, because 15 years ago, I was just looking at the panels and on the, over the stage. I'm like, I can't believe we have this relationship now. So thank you. And all the kind words.
It's an honor. It's an honor.
Thank you. I started real estate not because I'm passionate about homes or I love real estate. I had no choice. I was very broke. I was going to be a dentist, and I had a job. I got a job with a real estate broker as an assistant, and I thought, I'm going to go to real school. I remember when he hired me and offered me $2,000 a month. I thought, wow. I took my mom to Baja Fresh, and I told her, I said, Mom, you never have to work again. I make a lot of money now. And my broker then was a small company in Glendale. He told me one day, he goes like, hey, you should get your license. I said, nope, I'm going to be dentist. I want to make my family proud. And I don't like what you do. And I started looking at him more, and he was so successful, making a few hundred units a year in condominiums only and making a lot of money. And I was like, wow, this is fun. And then in the process of watching him, I fell in love with what he did. I sold 21 homes on the first year in real estate. 2 of them were leases, actually. And then I just left dental school. Until today, he will call me, goes like, don't you wish you were a dentist? And I left him 3 years after, and I joined Keller Williams. That alone was an interesting journey. And I never done anything else. I never had another job, and I don't know anything else. And I will say that real estate is changed my life, my family's life, and my career has definitely had interesting changes, but everything I've done has been just in real estate, nothing different.
Okay, so now let's keep going through kind of the progression, the evolution of your real estate career, Harma. And I want to dive into your second year, your third year, and then how you moved to Keller Williams Realty. And I know a little bit about that story, but I'd like for everyone to hear that, and also hear about your foray into leadership, how you got into leadership at such a young age and became a total standout in what was growing to be the largest real estate company in the world. It wasn't yet at that time. It was pretty far away.
No, it's interesting. The second year in real estate, I felt I was missing education, especially where I was selling real estate. Every time I went to an appointment, the clients will say, how much is your commission? How much was constantly the commission conversation where it came up. And I remember I went to Mike Ferry, signed up with Mike Ferry. I didn't even have money. I signed up for one-on-one coaching. And I was barely able to pay that $1,000 every month. I had to make sure my credit card would go through. And he didn't believe in marketing or open houses. So I did all of that plus what he said. And, I had an accent. I couldn't speak English well. And cold calling was just so difficult. But I was told that's what you're supposed to do. So I did that. And then I did door knocking. And then I did postcards. And I just thought that's it. There's no other way to go back, because I told people I do real estate now. And I continued selling homes. On the second year, third year, I did over 33 transactions. And I just couldn't sell homes where I was anymore. It was not me. And I was at the same time coming out. And I felt extremely uncomfortable to the community that I was selling homes, to tell them who I was. So I wanted to disappear from that market and just go somewhere else and start all new, and somewhere that people wouldn't know me. And culturally, I was close to friends and family in the same city, and I just didn't want to be there. I left and I interviewed everyone in the market: Prudential, Remax, and Coldwell Banker, Rodeo Realty. I interviewed so many people, and everyone said, wherever you go, do not go to Keller Williams. And Keller Williams was this new company, and everyone was talking about it. And there was this book called MREA, and people were handing it to each other. And I was like, well, I can't touch that book. I don't want that book. And just everybody else told me not to. And I just interviewed everyone except Keller Williams. I joined Remax, and I had this big ego, and I was so excited because I was like, I have this beautiful car. I can valet. I can show people what I have. And I joined, and I paid the errors and emission insurance right up front. And I walked down to get my car. I signed up, I paid the, and walked down and waited for everyone to see that my car is getting pulled in. And I see 6-7 agents with boxes coming down, and they're crossing the street to this building that had this little sign that says Keller Williams. And I'm like, where are you guys going? And they said, well, our office is consolidating. And I didn't know what that word was. So I literally remember I asked my partner, I was like, what the hell is consolidating this? He said, shutting down. I was like, I just paid them. I literally run up and my check was still on the manager's desk. I grabbed that and I walked back down and I followed them. And the manager of Keller Williams was there. And I was fed up. I needed to hang my license and I had business to run. And I asked him, I said, hey, I want to join Keller Williams. I want to know my split. And what are you going to do for me? And he goes like, are you hungry? And I was like, what? Goes like, let's go have sushi. And I was like, okay. So I went to have sushi. He didn't say anything. I talked the entire time and I just bonded with him. I felt he cared. And none of the manager ever listened my story and Mike Ferry, where I get my leads from, what my goals are. No one ever asked me those questions. So we had sushi. I just followed back, joined 70-30 split, $500 per office. I think it was less than 500. And I started real estate there. The first 3 months, I didn't sell anything. So I was like, oh my God, I made the wrong move. And then I remember my coach told me, Mike Ferry, that it's not the company, it's you. So stop blaming. And I was like, okay, I got to work on myself. The seventh month with Keller Williams, I capped. And I didn't know what that meant because I didn't listen the first time. They said, you're capped, so you don't give us anything anymore. I'm like, I was so shocked. Then I realized I was in an office that everybody was like clapping and being so happy for each other. And I was like, everybody told me that's not good. So then I started liking it. I was like, okay, well, this is nice. I mean, if every time I do a transaction, they are happy for me. It's so different from where I was from. And then my owner of the office and the team leader recognized me and they asked me to take an AVA, which I took as an assistant team leader. And I was like, can I sell real estate? They said yes. And
by the way, time out. So I know the AVA very well. The AVA is the behavioral profile that Keller Williams used that would match people for job comfort to jobs. So there was an ideal behavioral style for every role in the company. And by the way, that was a tool that was brought to us through Bain Henyon at Corporate Consulting. And I used the AVA throughout my whole life at Keller Williams, my whole professional life at Keller Williams. And I want to make sure everybody understands that that's a behavioral profile. So you took a behavioral profile for the assistant team leader role.
Correct. And they said they give you a small salary and you can sell real estate, or you have some incentives, depends obviously in the office. I took the AVA and I drove to, the owner at that time had an office in Hollywood Hills as well. So I drove in and it was so intimidating. The elevator opened and the conference room was on the 12th floor of a high rise with the entire city of LA with the ocean to the downtown. And I just sat there and I was so intimidated. And he came in and he's read my AVA. And basically the AVA said, what a horrible assistant team leader I will be. And I was like, well, I don't even care about this. You guys asked me to do this. I don't even want this. And he goes like, stop. Let me just tell you something. I have taken the AVA and changed the jar to a team leader position. And I want to tell you that you're 99% match for a team leader position. And at that time, the company had only like 3 or 4 people with that number. And I said, what does that mean? They're like, well, we think you should become a team leader. I was like, well, what about, I was so shocked. And I thought that's one of the biggest compliment I've ever received. And I don't know what happened that triggered that I want to be a team leader. And am I going fast, Mark?
No, you're perfect. You're perfect.
And then I asked to become a team leader in multiple places. Many owners said, no, I'm not a match. And then I just got rejected over and over from different offices. And finally was an office that was not doing well. And they had a team leader for, very high salary. I reached out to the owners multiple times and they said, we have one. And And I said, well, he's not doing a good job. And they're like, oh, we have a team leader. I'm like, well, you're a loss carry forward of $270,000. And so I prepared a PowerPoint for them, 6 months, a year, and a 3 years plan. And I told them that I will pay for my salary if I don't do a good job or I don't deliver the first year. You don't have to pay me. Here's the check. And I showed up on their door, and I honestly don't know why they believed in me. I had so many things they should have not believed in me. They did finally, and they gave me the job. We had an 1,800 square feet on the second floor of a high-rise building with no bathroom, no conference room, no kitchen, no parking. And it was Keller who, my name was Harma what, and the position was TL what. You know, it was just like so hard to sell all of that. And then foreclosures were coming in. So I will get meeting with an $8 million producer. She will do $2 million. I will get someone who will be so excited that 2 listings, they will completely disappear in the market. It was just one of those days that I got the position. The same time I was recognized as the #1 team in Studio City, then #1 team in Central Southern region as the highest GCI team. And I remember when I got recognized on that, I went to the bathroom, I was crying because I had no money, yet in public, it looked that I made so much money. I was so broke, and I didn't know how to keep my money. And one of the things I was very excited because I thought, okay, great, I will have to learn budget and expenses and run a business. Someone will teach me all that. Short story, I became a team leader of next door market share, kept my team in the same market center that I started. I just learned so much. The first 6 months, I talked the entire time. Then I realized no one cares, no one just joining. Then in my book, there's a chapter we talked about, you know, a water that I put on my desk, and you look at it if every time you want to talk, old water. And if you want to talk, you got to have a sip of that water. And I stopped talking and I start caring about people. I didn't even talk about Keller Williams. I didn't talk about profit share. I didn't have a profit to share, so I didn't matter. And I didn't talk about cap. I didn't talk about anything. I just talked about them. The third year, I was #1 team leader in recruiting. It was 144 gross, 101 net. And then the second year, the second year after that, which the fourth year in my career in team leader role, we became the #1 in profit share, which you used to say the numbers, profit will follow.
Don't lie.
Say that again.
But numbers are the language of business. And numbers don't lie. There's no bullshit in numbers.
Nope. And when you do, the profit shows. So
some people try to bullshit on their numbers, but in the end, the real numbers, they don't lie, do they?
Do not.
Okay, I want to back up for a minute. There's something about that story that I love so much, and that is that you had so much faith in yourself that you said, okay, look, you give me this opportunity. I'll prove myself within 6 months. If I've not proven myself, I will pay you back every dime that you paid me. By the way, that's the one and only time I've ever heard someone put their own pocketbook at risk while having responsibility and accountability for a job. And so that story, Harma, it stuck with me for, however many years this is, maybe, you told me that 15 years ago, 13 years ago, something like that. And I still say you took all the risk. They took zero risk, and you proved yourself at a high level at a very young age, like 25. Were you 25 at the time?
I was turning 26, correct.
Yeah, 25, 26 years old. Okay, so the other thing I want to make sure and go back on is, I think we all, one of my rules, like in Mark Willis leadership, one of my principles is ask, don't tell. I think we all are so anxious to tell our story. And oftentimes it's just like nervous airspace that we're filling rather than really getting into deep curiosity about other people and what matters to them and what's really important about their careers and their lives. And what I hear you saying is that you stopped telling and talking and you started asking and getting into deep curiosity. And when you made, like, that was a turning point, when you had that epiphany, your whole career shifted completely, and you began to succeed as a leader at a high level. Completely. And I remember the days when you would walk up on stage, you're like this kid, literally. And you just walk up and you just grab the microphone and take it with ease and have all of this finesse and this flair about you. And obviously you still have that and so much more. But when I look at your career and I look at why I think you're such a role model, such an amazing standout for other people, is that you have taken risk every step of the journey because you wanted success so badly. It wasn't a blind ambition. It was a win-win ambition. And I love that about you. I just have this natural bias that loves that about you. So let me now switch gears, because you built this amazing team. You have leverage. You have a great real estate office that makes a lot of money. You have an amazing team that makes a lot of money. You've written a book, Getting Back Up, which is one of the most inspiring. As I said, when you want to read the story of somebody who creates their life, and it's creating a life that is a beautiful life that everybody admires, which is true of you today. It wasn't always that way, right? I mean, you've worked hard. You're a self-made man. Tell us, for our listeners and our viewers, tell us about that book and what inspired you to write it and where you are with that today.
Thank you. I'm not an author. I just started writing lessons of my life growing up in a different country. I was born here. I was 30 days old, moved to Iran, and revolution happened. They took our American passports, and I never came back until 19, turning 20. And the things has happened there. It wasn't because of my, I just thought always something is wrong with me because maybe I'm a little bit feminine, and I got bullied about that and many other things with my father. So I started writing things as a lesson. And I thought from age of 10 to 18, if I have 8 lessons for my kids and I can read them on their birthdays or whatever in between, 1 lesson a year, it will be a really good way, because I don't think any kid should ever go through what I went through. And I think many kids right now in the world are going through so many things that they shouldn't. We are so lucky in a country with so many opportunities and rules, and we should always be grateful on that. And so I thought to write that, and then more I started writing, it was getting more difficult because I had to go deeper and deeper. And I went through so many therapists to just bury everything that happened to me and just move on. And ironically, actually helped me, because I am more in peace now than I was before, and I've moved on. And the lessons, I was just was like, not a book. And then my partner read it, goes like, you should make a book. And I was like, no, this cannot be a book. I was like, just write a book. So it took me 3.5 years. I finished it, and it is not a real estate book, although it talks about my success in real estate, how has been shaped by the lessons of my life previously. And I learned a lot from my father, what not to do, let's just say. And he was a successful man in business he was lacking leadership. So I learned a lot from him and many others. And so I wrote the book as of every chapter as a lesson, and ends with my kids being born. It's not about their lives. It's not about my partner's life. It's just all about my, and then no one would publish me. I asked 403 agents in real book agents, and they were just like, nope. And I was like, oh, well, I'll self-publish it. So I hired a PR team, and then I hired an copyright editor and then a cover designer, and published it. And according to my PR team, which I was so disappointed with the amount of sales, they said that this is more successful than publishers with full-on launch with authors that they're known, or reality show stars that they write books. So I'm grateful with that, but I guess I'm too hard on myself. And it's been an interesting ride. I'm very grateful that people are actually interested. I mean, I'm getting messages from people that they never will share their story, and they're telling me this chapter that happened to me, and it allowed me to get to know so many people around me that they would not tell me anything unless they read my book. So it's been interesting, and I can't wait for my kids to be able to. They're too young right now, but when they're older, maybe they can read the whole book and they learn from it.
It's an inspiring and beautiful story. Tenacity and perseverance, and I think heart at a deep level. There's just some of your childhood stories in the book are painful. Certainly the kind of the moment before your accident on the hill with the bus, and the person who was sitting in the seat next to you who said you're about to die, and then you get into a crash, shows that your sensitivity and your ability to tap into intuition or a higher source is highly attuned. And I've got to say that I was deeply touched by the book. I was deeply touched by your courage. I was deeply touched by your humility. And I was deeply inspired and impressed by your resilience. And I think that, when we talk about success in real estate, that courage to do what you need to do so you get what you want to get is something that people feel and access and get into. But what I got from your book is that you were acting as who you wanted to be. And I think that things happen on the spiritual, things that manifest on the physical plane start on the spiritual plane and then go to the intellectual plane of thoughts. And so I just love the story, and I want to encourage anyone who's watching this to go buy Getting Back Up, buy Harma's story. You'll be incredibly impressed. So I want to, for a minute, Harma, I want to kind of shift gears and talk about your life today. Okay, because if you read the book, you get the story of back when. Now, today, tell us about where you are in life. You just bought a home in Palm Springs. I know that.
I did. Very excited. It's pretty hot down there, so I'm not sure.
May not be your summer destination.
Yes. It's my partner has been asking for a house in Palm Springs for 10 years, and I'm like, nope, market is going to go down. We buy it when it's down, and then I think we bought it when it's really high. But it's sometimes in life, it's first of all, it's much better to get that and not get divorced, and much cheaper. I told him, I said, let's just get it because you've been asking too long. So, but the life is, I get this question a lot, Mark, that how do you balance it? And how do you balance when 3 kids, and last year with pandemic, they're on Zoom all day. And then I'm workaholic. I love what I do. I don't think I get up and go to work so I don't feel it. So I have to remind myself what's important, what's not. my schedule overall is in the office. I don't like to work from home. I'm just not designed like that. I don't go to listing appointments as much that I used to. My team has grown to be better in their skill set. It's a lot better. So I don't believe in hiring so many people and leveraging through them because I think it's more work. Our office, Keller Williams office in Encino Sherman Oaks, is where is my number one priority in growth, because it leads me to an escrow company that is doing an amazing job. And last 2 years, I again try to do a few things that I think it's not productive. So I'm cutting back down to what's important, which is the one thing. So my real estate team, Keller Williams office, flipping properties or developing properties and not necessarily selling. That's not the intention. And having fun with the kids. I cannot be home with the kids all day. So anyone who stays home and takes care of their kids all day, I admire them. This is just too much. I like to be the good father just for a few hours. But traveling and booking things and going places is the reward once a month for everything I do. And I have an amazing team leader and operating partner broker who oversee the operation of Encino Sherman Oaks, because as you know, 400 agents in this market, there's a lot of setbacks that we have to overcome, not only in recruiting. They recruit around 20 people a month, but at the same time, our agents are happy to be with us. So you got to deliver what you promise. And that takes what I learned in real estate. Most agents, not everyone, they don't remember all the good things. If one thing goes wrong, they remember the last thing. So it's so important to make sure nothing goes wrong at all times. So we have a great team, but we have that weekly meetings that we have, the accountability meetings that to talk about the operation, to recruiting, to financials. Those are my meetings that cannot be skipped. And they cannot be on Fridays because I'm really tired by Fridays. I cannot think about financials. So that's what my day looks like.
What does a typical day look like for you?
Mondays, Wednesdays, Fridays at 7:30, I walk the kids to school, and then I run.
How far walk is that?
12 minutes.
Okay.
And it's all the way down, and then it's easier for them, and then I walk up. So it's a good amount of calories. And then I work out at home or I run. Sorry. That's Mondays and Wednesdays and Fridays. The rest I wake up and I'm out of the house by 8. So then once they leave, I leave. I go home by 5. Try, not every day, because the pandemic taught me that no matter what you do, the dinner should be with them. Right. So unless I'm hosting something for the office, I'm home to have dinner with them, and they have to sleep by 8. So I also practice that if it's a real estate question and the deal is falling apart, if the deal is falling apart, it hasn't by 5 and you have a problem, it's not going to fall apart that night. So just we can slip on it and wake up in the morning and deal with it. So I don't respond to any emergency because I don't think we are brain surgeons. So everything can wait, unless obviously there's some circumstances that we need to call back. But I try to give my body, I'm not that young. Like 20 years ago, I could push all the way to 1 o'clock and work. And I remember I did that and I just can't. So weekends, it's every other weekend I'm in the office or I'm working from home, but or listings appointments and recruiting appointments are always on my calendar first. So if anything else is there, if those two comes up, everything gets moved, no matter what. And unless it's kid schedule. So the typical week is no lunch with myself. Like I will not take a lunch an hour unless that's going to be productive. So my lunch meetings are only if it generates income, retains, or it's for peace. Out of those three, if it's not, I'm sitting in front of my computer eating. So it's all calculated right now. And that's because many years ago when I was going to have kids, someone said, you can't have kids and have all of this. And you have to give up. And you have to compromise. But it's interesting. You learn to say no to non-productive things. And I became very good at it.
Well, that's clarity, right?
Correct.
That's getting clarity about what you want. And I think that, life goes in and out of balance for sure. Work goes in and out of balance. And yet you got to have guardrails. You got to have boundaries. And so I appreciate that. And I want to go back to something you said. You said you have 2 meetings a week, one with your office staff and the other with your real estate team.
My real estate team. So the way my position right now is that I have my personal assistant, my operation manager, social media and marketing person, and my CFO. My CFO handles all my properties as well as the office financials, not the MCA. But so those are daily, if not, but the sales conversation is weekly. Office recruiting and operation is weekly. It's every Monday, no doubt. If we have to have it Monday afternoons. We talk about what happened the week before, and we talk about what's coming up this week. And then we resume next Monday. We talk about, did we do what we said last week? And what are we going to do this week? So I'm constantly hold them accountable to that.
Now, do you think it's accountability, or is it just inspecting what you expect from the standpoint of if you're on track, it's encouragement, it's praise. And if you're off track, it's curiosity and almost, because I know your heart.
Yeah, you nailed it. I learned that my people are my assets. And if I don't treat them like an asset, they're not going to perform well. So if they're not hitting what it is, my approach is not like, this is what you said, you don't do it. My approach is like literally, and I really mean it. And I look at them like, are you okay? Because I know you can do better. I mean, I don't even go about their numbers. I just talk about them. It's like something must be off. I mean, I have been off. I've been days that I didn't do what I'm supposed to do before and even now. So I approach that first, like what's going on. But what I notice, what they come up with and they say they're going to do, and it's so much more powerful than me telling them what I think should be done. So
I have this, I like to kind of show that you and I are very aligned on our beliefs. I said, I've asked, don't tell is a principle, but I also have alignment, encouragement, and praise, and a real relationship are far more powerful than accountability. So when we can align with someone who wants what we want, and we know they want what we want just as badly as we want it, and we earn a relationship, like we earn their hearts and minds, then encouraging them when they're not hitting the mark, and finding out, kind of how you can help them so they do hit the mark, or where they're not enjoying some task about the role, so that it's a real conversation rather than just a beat up session. I think that's so much more powerful.
It goes way far. And I think if you must be in business with intelligent people, right? And if you're in business with intelligent people, my goal gets set for the year in December. So I don't go back and like, did you do that? If you're intelligent, we talked about, if you ask my team leader and my operation manager right now for Encino, they're very clear. The goal is to hit 500 agent this year. So they come to me on the meetings. I don't say anything. They sit and they're like, 24, we're on track. Cap management, we're missing this cap here. And then they're both, oh my God, I didn't do what I was. And I don't say anything. I just sit there. They say what they didn't do, what they did. Very proud. I acknowledge on the good And if there's anything we need to discuss about them, and I usually talk about how's your house going? How's your ADU that you're building? Did you buy the house in Palm Springs? Because she did. I mean, my conversation, the end, it's all about, because I want them to walk away knowing I build you, you build the business. And if they're not intelligent, it's like, as we always say, knowing what you know today, would you be in business with them? If the answer is no, you ended that day.
All right. So two huge, I build you, you build the business. And I only go in business with intelligent people. Both big statements. I mean, that's mindset programming. That's the way a leader has to think to build a great company. And so where do you find those people? Like, do you have a funnel or a process or a strategy for how you identify them? Because finding the right people,
very hard.
it's not easy.
No. So the two people that I mentioned right now, or my number two in real estate, his name is Jack. They give you a story about Jack. Jack was an associate agent in one of the offices. And I just walked in every day at 8 o'clock. He was there before me, cold calling. So I just saw his work ethic. So I took him to lunch and I find out about his life, find out about where is he from and all that. And so I found him hardworking, loyal, dependable. I just had to find out if he's intelligent. And so we start dating before we got married. So I gave him assignments, I gave him properties to just see, does he use the common sense, or because you can't teach common sense. But I didn't know if he had one. And when I did, I had no position for him. And he was just too junior for me because I had no time to train. But then I stepped back, I hired him and I said, I'm going to build him. So it took me 2.5 years, 3 years. And now I'm like, you going to that appointment? I'm not going, because he just copied and learned a lot from me. So when you do find a person, if that they fit with what you're looking for, although you don't need them that day, you have to create a position. You cannot let them go. And now I made mistakes that I didn't hire them, or I hold on to someone because they were loyal, but they were not hardworking or not intelligent, or they were that way. I mean, if there's no loyalty, I don't work well at all. So that's, to me, is very important. So those are the 4 things I'll look for. But once you find them, but it's not easy. And you always have to be on a hunt to create a benchmark for those positions that you have.
Loyal, hardworking, trustworthy, intelligent.
Dependability, yeah.
Dependable.
Yeah.
Great criteria. And then again, real clarity. What is your, so you've got all these different roles. What is your job description in terms of, if you were to identify just your narrow focus as it relates to owning a great real estate office? What's your narrow focus?
Carrying building agents business.
Okay. Now, your team, narrow focus job description.
Getting to 14% market share in my farm.
Okay. And then for your development company, which we haven't talked about, but I know that you are flipping, not necessarily flipping, but you're taking properties, you're repurposing them. I think you have done some properties that you converted to different kinds of health facilities.
Correct.
What is your focus and what is your narrow job description in that endeavor?
The goal that I have I have a video vision board that I place twice a day for me. As I'm driving to the office, I watch it. The goal on that is 2 properties a year that is the right property, because I get a lot of opportunities, but not every opportunity is the right one. So I say a lot of no's before I say yes. And I'm not looking for the most expensive properties. I'm not looking for the best locations. I'm looking for something that no one else is looking at, so I can get it, because it's not about how much you sell it for, it's about how much you bought it for. So it's all about the purchase price. So I'm looking for something that no one else is bidding on so I can get it a lot less. Because right now in my area of where my office is, everyone knows if there's property, everyone wants it. But so I pick a property that has a interesting story, that has a facility, like a adult facility that be converted to an apartment building, or the other way around, something that no one is in the market not touching it, because again, the profit always comes when you pay the lows, not the highest. It's never about how much you sold it, how much you made. Is about the profit is when you purchase, is when you already know how much you're going to make.
Let me ask you, in the development business, do you have a narrow, well-defined focus, or is it just finding opportunities that you believe will be fruitful?
What was the first part? Do I have someone, you said, or in your development, real estate development business, do you have a narrow focus of the criteria, the type of property, or is it just compelling opportunities in real estate as they come? Depends what I'm working on. So when it's, I take a bigger risk on my own money, but I would, if I'm delivering for others, because I have people that they're invest with me, I take something that is a high return and 100% guarantee, because I'm using their money. It's very important for me to keep that promise and deliver. So if I, for example, if it's a house in Sherman Oaks, which I have something I'm building that I bought it very cheap, I know what's going to come out of it, that's guaranteed sell. I build it from scratch. I don't like to build from scratch, but I'll do it because I know where that return will be. But if I'm doing a small condo that needs to be flipped very fast and happens to be in my farm, although there's not a lot of return on it, but gives me another listing, and every listing gives me 2 more buyers, 1 more listing. So I'll do it and I keep it in my farm, but I'll do it in my own money. So it depends.
All right. Just curious on that one. All right. So I want to ask a question. What advice would you give to somebody who has either made the decision that they are going to get into real estate, or they are at a kind of maybe a ceiling of achievement in their business and they want to get to the next level?
So the advice for those are new, let's say new to real estate or new to leadership, they want to be a team leader. Number one, do not listen to someone who doesn't have the track record, because they will really destroy your career. They can say something that you will start believing in it when it's not true, and that's what becomes what you believe in. And usually people who are successful don't have the time to give advice. So if you're getting unsolicited advice, usually, and it's free, usually is not true. So,
Harma, I got a question for you. Now keep that thought. Remember this one: believe all the good you hear and only the evil you see with your own eyes, and you'll have peace forever.
Yep.
Our friend James.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
I mean, look, you changed my life. I just remembered again.
Believe all the good you hear, everything good, everything. And only the evil you see with your own eyes that you can factually prove. Mm-hmm. And you have peace.
I literally will give you
at such a higher level than filling your mind with lies that people want you to believe are truths.
I'll give you an example, exactly what you said. What you have to see. I was standing in the kitchen on the phone. There were 2 agents getting coffee. And literally I was like walking around so I can find a place to speak. All the conference rooms were taken. And my phone ended and I just got caught up with their conversation. I was just listening because I just don't think agents should be in the kitchen. That's why I built my kitchen so narrow. There's no eating. Focus on work, right? And you don't have to be sitting, and we don't have this big dining room. So one is telling the other one that farming doesn't work. I sent postcards once, and one person called me and said, "Don't you dare send me things. Paper, you're cutting trees for no reason. What? How dare you?" And this agent, who's just got licensed 2 months ago, said, "Yeah, I don't know. I'm just gonna focus on people I know because I'm afraid. Well, I mean, I don't want to be in that position." So they both walked away. And I was like, oh my God. One was already not going to do, and he was not the most hardworking. And then the other one, who's absolutely just sent one postcard, just destroyed this half hardworking person's career. And I just pulled both of them in. And I said, well, I've been farming 11 years. I have 11% market share. And I'm going to get to 14, and it's really hard. And I'm telling you, to be wealthy, you have to sell homes for people you don't know. You can't sell to homes to only people you know, because you can't know too many people. And I offer them that I'll do postcards for you, and every transaction I'll reimburse you for your postcards if you're committed to do for 12 months. And I just realized, I was like, how many of this conversation happens right here in front of us and we can't control it? So I start talking about it in every team meeting. Do not talk to someone who doesn't have the track record. And whoever is giving you advice is likely they don't know what they're talking about, because if you look at the top producing agents, if you ask them questions, they're like, I don't know. They don't just openly give an advice. And you said something for people who they feel they hit the ceiling, and what do they do next? I can tell you what not to do, because I have done that mistake. I started look around on doing something else. And because I thought I achieved it, it's always a higher level of what you do. And if you depends what the age you're in and your skill set is designed, don't try to reinvent the wheel or find another way and stop what you build. Focus on what you have and look if that means reorganizing your talent in your team. If that means expanding on your business on farming or lead generation, or changing your price range. But instead of doing what you do better, that's the way to go. Not to say, you know what, I'm just going to open another company, or maybe I had a friend who said, I was thinking to open a dry cleaning, or window cleaning. And I'm like, you're an agent, because I'm doing so well. And I got tired of it. So I think look into it.
The grass is rarely greener on the other side of the fence. And I think, the gold, the acres of diamonds are in our own backyard. We just got to mine them. We got to mine them.
Yep.
Okay. So it's just kind of hard for me to believe that we are almost at 1 hour of having this conversation. Awesome. And I'm going to ask a question, and this is just like, what have I not asked you that I should have asked you, where you can offer some of the wisdom of your experience and advice that you would want to offer in this conversation and this podcast, Harma?
Well, if we go back to tie the book and my journey since you met me 15 years ago, we all had setbacks. I have gone through some tough childhood. Why don't I use those to become a victim? And so the question will be, why? What is it about you that you didn't become a victim or cry over that over and over? I will say that I didn't have false hope, and I had no choice to survive. So for some of us, we'll just sit back and we'll cry what happened to us, or losing a listing. We just beat ourselves through it. So I came up with the 5 minutes funeral. So cry 5 minutes, get over it, and move on. I didn't have the choice to sit down, and I didn't have the support. So if you're going through something or you lost something, success is not when you prove people you won that case. Success is when you detach yourself from, I call it drama or the failure, and move on. And then you get to show so much more, and then versus people who are caught up with the same topic. So that will be my
I love that. And, I've got to say this for our viewers, and I'm saying this directly to you, Harma. I think I didn't ask that question because I already knew that about you. And it's the most obvious question. And so I'm so glad you shared that. I think that people that succeed in life are those that say failure is not an option. Because if I don't succeed, I don't have air. It's like I can't breathe. Right. And so that you said no choice but to survive. And I think I've heard you say that before. I think it's in the book. It is absolutely it's a great closing note for this conversation. I could keep having these conversations with you every week and learn something every time. I want to thank you so much,
thank you
for sharing and having such humility and such transparency about your journey. And we should probably dive in and have a follow-up conversation soon about leverage and go deep into the conversation of leverage, because you built a great life, and you can only do that with amazing leverage. And thank you so much. Thank you so much for your time. You've given us so much great information, and I'll look forward to catching up with you soon. For the people watching this, we at Mark Willis Leadership appreciate your following us. I know Harma will appreciate you buying a copy of his book and reading it. It's getting back up. You'll love the book, and you'll be inspired by his story, even beyond what we've covered today in this podcast. So thank you again, Harma. It's been an honor. It's been a pleasure on so many levels.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, my pleasure.